ITM gents, this week I want to talk about a political speech given by Evan Sayet back in 2006. This speech is titled Regurgitating the Apple, How Modern Liberals Think. It was supposed to be the basis of a book of the same title, but I don't believe the book ended up having that title. I never read the book. But Andrew Breitbart said that this speech was quite possibly one of the 5 most important political speeches ever given. I think that's underselling this speech. And this speech wasn't given by a politician. It was given by a liberal comedy writer who worked for Bill Maher, Evan Sayet. Now, every once in a while, one of my friends will say something along the lines of, I don't understand these actions coming from the left. Like, their actions don't line up with their declared motives and ideals. It's doublethink. It doesn't make any sense. In which case, I end up sharing this speech with them. And many times I often watch the speech again for myself just to remind myself because of how insane some of these motives and actions by the left, they just make no sense. But this speech lays it out in something that Evan Sayet called the grand unified theory of liberalism. Now, I don't like using that word liberalism. I call it leftism, and because I won't play those word games. Now, in 2006, Evan Sayet, he was calling liberals, they call themselves liberals. We call modern liberals. Evan Sayet called them modern liberals or liberals with a capital L. Meanwhile, he'll call actual liberals, the people that we today call classical liberalism or liberal or individualists, libertarians, they were called lowercase liberals, lowercase l liberals. So he was calling it uppercase liberals for modern liberals and lowercase liberals for classical liberals. Like I said, I won't play those word games with the left because modern liberals are as illiberal as they come. So I don't call them liberals at all. You will always hear me call them leftists. But this is the language that Evan Sayet used in the speech. Now, Evan Sayet was a Democrat growing up because when you grow up and you're a liberal, they tell you that liberalism is a left-wing ideology. Democrats are good, Republicans are evil. But what happened is 9/11 happened. And 9/11 happened, and he started seeing that all these ideals that the liberals claimed to have just faded away. He realized that the people who called themselves liberal were illiberal, and the actual true liberals were on the right. Because liberalism, by definition, the ideals of individual liberty, individualism is a right-wing ideology. And what the left calls liberal is actually the opposite of liberalism. It's collectivism. It is an oxymoron for them to call themselves liberals. So what he did is he set to figure out why people on the left have the thoughts that they have. And he tried to figure it out. And that's where he came up with the grand unified theory of leftism, as I'm going to call it from now on. Now, when you think about the ideals of the left, why are they always wrong? This is what he tried to figure out. And it's not just that they always seem to be wrong, it's that they are always wrong 100% of the time. And it doesn't make any sense because if they had standards and they stuck with those standards, occasionally they could be right. You know, even a broken clock is right twice a day, as they say. So why is it the leftists are always wrong? And what he figured out is that this is intentional. And, you know, if they were just stupid, they would be right more often because, you know, even stupid people can be right. And they're not just stupid because we know too many of these people and we know that a lot of them are very smart people. Then maybe they're evil. Well, we know too many of these people and we know them not to be evil. So why are they always wrong? Why are they always standing on the side of stupidity and the side of evil when we know that they are not stupid or evil? And that is because their ideology is based on preventing conflict. Because what happens is if you look out through all of history, you can determine possibly that all conflict, all cause of war, all negative actions happen because one side is always trying to prove to the other side that they are right. So they have the notion that we need to get rid of the idea of right and wrong. We need to prove that all that is wrong is actually right, and all that is right, good, and great in the world is actually wrong. So in order to do that, they need to reject all fact, reason, evidence, logic, truth, and decency, as he said. And they do this through the complete rejection of discrimination. I said this in previous videos. I think I talked about it most in my redlining video. And I say that discrimination is an evolutionary tool. Discrimination is a survival mechanism. You learn to discriminate against that which is bad, and you tend to choose that which is good. That is an evolutionary tool. Discrimination is not inherently good or evil. It is a tool of survival. And so people on the left reject all discrimination. They have actively rejected evolution because evolution is a sense of discrimination. And so this is why they embrace certain things like moral relativism, which I've also spoken about in previous videos. The idea is that all cultures are equal, but we know that's not true. Some cultures are better than others. And so when we have our American civilization, the entire purpose was to embrace the good in cultures that come into our society and reject the bad from those cultures. And we primarily have done that until the rise of leftism during the past 50, 100 years. And so he talks about it as everything in leftism is designed to tear down which is good and elevate which is evil. And we can see this where the left will always choose the wrong sides in any sort of conflict. They will stand with Israel over Palestine. They will stand with Qasem Soleimani over Donald Trump. They will stand with the Taliban over America. It doesn't make any sort of sense. And so he brings up a book, I forgot what it's called, but it was something along the lines of everything I ever needed to learn, I learned in kindergarten. Because when you're in kindergarten, you don't understand the context of things. You don't understand substance. You don't understand any sort of relationships. So you stick with your base ideals of good and evil without understanding why people make the decisions that they make. You don't understand cause and effect. You don't understand incentives, both positive and negative. And so people on the left who need to stay with this tribal mentality of the rejection of discrimination and the rejection of all fact, reason, evidence, logic, truth, and decency, they have to surrender their standards because they cannot have standards. As we often say, that if the left had any standards at all, they would be double standards. Yeah, I think that was the line. Yeah, it's been a while since I've said it. But occasionally there will be someone on the left who realizes that they have corrupted their standards. And what happens is over time, they actually get red pilled because the realization that you have surrendered your standards, that you have just completely corrupted your principles, is the pathway towards red pilling. And he uses, for example, someone named Tammy Bruce. Tammy Bruce, when he gave this speech, was a Democrat. Now, if you've ever heard of Tammy Bruce was a lesbian. I think she was on the board of directors of GLAAD, the Gay Lesbian Alliance, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what GLAAD stands for. But far leftist. And she realized that the corruption in her ideology, it didn't make any sense. And now when you look at Tammy Bruce, she is a hard right anchor on Fox News, I believe. Because once you start sticking by your standards, you actually become right-wing. And so he makes the joke that there is actually such thing as a Democrat with standards. We call them Republicans. So let's go on to praxis. How do we see this theory in practice? How do we see this theory active in the real world? And what we're talking about now in present day is something called critical theory. Now, critical race theory is being taught in schools, but I'm going to start with critical theory. Now, what is critical theory? Many people on the left, when they're arguing for critical theory or critical race theory, they always say, you don't even understand what that means. Oh, no, we know exactly what that means. We've been talking about this for a long time. And actually, if you watch this speech, I will leave a link to this speech in the description of this video. And I actually do recommend that you watch it because he goes into further about what I'm talking about here. He actually talks about critical theory. He doesn't use the words critical theory, but he does talk about it. And specifically, he talks about success being cheated. And that's what critical theory is. Critical theory reframes all hierarchies, all relationships, all social interaction as a struggle for power, rather than possibly a struggle for competence, which is how capitalism works. In capitalism, all hierarchies are struggles of competence. So for instance, let's say your town has 3 or 4, let's say you live in a small town and you have four plumbers in your town. Eventually, one of these plumbers will end up being the #1 plumber in your town. In a capitalist society, how would this plumber become the #1 plumber in this town? He would do it through a meritocracy. He would do it through competence. That is, either he gives the best prices, he gives the best service, or he does it in the fastest manner. And that's generally the triad of goods and services: speed, price, and quality. You can have something fast, you can have something cheap, you can have something high quality. Pick only 2. That's the triad of goods and services. You can have something that's fast and cheap, but it's not going to be high quality. You can have something that's cheap and high quality, but it's going to take a long time. You can have something that's high quality and quick, but it's going to be expensive as shit. That's how it works. Speed, price, quality, pick only 2. That's how capitalism works. That is a struggle for meritocracy, a struggle for competency. Now, what critical theory does is reframes all hierarchies, all conflict as struggles for power. So any sort of success is cheated at the expense of anyone that they've beaten. So it's not that one plumber provided a better service than all the other 3 plumbers in the town. It's that plumber somehow cheated his way to the top, whether that's through bribing the local bureaucracy, or something even more nefarious, like I don't know, he stole goods in the middle of the night, stole parts, and punctured tires on the guy's truck, or something like that. The whole point is, in critical theory, success is only through cheat. They say this, they say anyone who's successful, the business owner, the business is success on the backs of the workers at that business. That is critical theory. It reframes the success of the business through meritocracy or providing goods to the communities as a struggle for power by having their boot on the ones below them. That is critical theory. And this is wrong, because in order to solve the cheat, the idea that success was cheated, that in order to solve the inherent inequality produced by this system, people who follow critical theory want to actually, they want to create bureaucracies. They want to create governing bodies, licensing boards. And now these are actual organizations of power that can be bribed, power that can actually cheat for success, actual hierarchies of power to solve this fake hierarchy of power. So they actually, once that they've solved the problem of fake critical theory, solve the problem that their theories actually don't have, they fix it by implementing this power structure that they were supposed to solve in the first place. So they create a fake problem. They create a real problem, in essence, in their effort of solving their fake problem, which of course keeps them in more power and brings more struggle, because that's how leftism works. That's how collectivism works. In order to solve fake problems caused by individualism, they will create actual problems caused by collectivism. So critical race theory takes critical theory to the next step, and it says instead of success being cheated based on whatever reason that they've come up with, they specifically say that success is cheated based on race. So if a white man is successful, it's only because he has his foot on the throat of the black man. Things like that. So they throw out all sorts of meritocracy. They throw out all sorts of competency and instead reframe it only as a struggle for power. That is how critical theory works. That is simply a branch of the grand unified theory of leftism. Anyways, that is my very short summary of this speech given by Evan Sayet back in 2006. Once again, I do recommend you watch it, and keep in mind it is in 2006, so he's going to talk about certain things that are maybe a bit outdated. So he'll talk about Saddam Hussein, who's been dead for nearly a decade at this point, maybe even longer than that. He's not going to talk about Barack Obama because Barack Obama wasn't president yet. So he's still going to be talking about George Bush, Bill Clinton, things like that. It is an excellent speech. I share it with people all the time, and I do once again recommend you watch it. I'm sorry for not having any videos during the past few weeks. I spoke previously how I had a water leak in my place, so I had to have the water mediators here. The construction crews are coming soon, so there's lots of noise that makes it a bit harder for me to do these videos. So that's why. So if you don't see any videos in upcoming weeks either, that's going to be the same reason. I may just record a few videos in advance and then schedule them for upload. Anyways, follow and share. I don't need any sort of donations. I don't ask for donations. I'm well off on income enough on my own. All I ask that you share these videos. That does more for me than you can ever understand, more than any sorts of monetary donation will ever do for me. Please share these videos, and I'll see you guys next week maybe. Peace out.